Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are tackling a source with one of the boldest claims I think I've ever seen.
It really is.
It promises to take a whole human life, all the chaos, the complexity, and just fit it all neatly into a 12-part framework.
It's the ultimate systematization, really. We're diving into a stack of material, and the main one is called Astrology's 12 Houses, Life Story Revealed. I mean, the mission is right there in the title.
Right, it says, the 12 houses explained, what they reveal about your life story.
Exactly.
And our goal here for you, the listener, is to really get into the architecture of that. I mean, what kind of framework does it take to actually capture a full personal biography? We want to understand why breaking a life down into 12 pieces is so significant.
Well, what's so fascinating is that the source is basically suggesting there's a structure that can synthesize every single area of your existence. We're not just sorting experiences here.
No.
We're talking about a 12-chapter manual for a life, which, immediately makes you ask, what 12 categories could possibly be fundamental enough to explain everything?
Okay, so let's start right there with the structure. The source is very direct.
Yeah.
The 12 houses explained. Why 12? I mean, when you're trying to categorize something as huge as a life, why is that number, that kind of blueprint, so important?
Well, think about it this way. A life story isn't just one thing, right? It's like a massive ongoing documentary with a million different plot threads.
Right, 24/7.
Exactly. And if a system tried to explain everything all at once, you'd just have total information overload. The number 12, you see it everywhere. 12 months, 12 hours on a clock. It implies a kind of completion.
A full cycle.
A full cycle, yeah. It suggests a structure that covers every necessary part before, starting over again.
So it's sort of like a syllabus for life. You wouldn't study all of world history at once. You break it into units, the ancient world, the medieval period, and so on.
That's a perfect analogy.
And these 12 houses are those chapters. So if you're trying to get a handle on your own life, having 12 defined areas means you know exactly where to file every ambition, every relationship.
Precisely. And that's a classic intellectual tool, isn't it? Imposing order on what feels like chaos. It offers a promise of clarity. Instead of this big amorphous thing called life, you can look at, say, House 4, which is home and family, or House 10, your career.
It makes the intangible, actionable.
That's the key.
But this is where it gets really interesting for me, because we have to go beyond just the idea of organization. What does the scope of the system have to be? I mean, if it's going to reveal a full life story, what themes must it include?
Right. If it's going to be truly comprehensive, it can't miss any of the big building blocks of what it means to be a person. And you can actually group the 12 houses into, let's say, quartets that cover that scope.
Okay, so where does it start? With the personal sphere, I assume. What are the first chapters you need to define you?
You start with identity and resources. That's essentially houses 1 and 2. House 1 is the pure self, your personality, how you appear to the world.
Your starting character, almost.
Your starting character, exactly. And then House 2 follows right away with what supports that character. Your stuff, your material resources, your money, but also your core values.
So who am I and what do I have to work with?
That's it. For the system to have any credibility at all, it has to establish the individual and their physical grounding right up front.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So once the self is established, the story has to move outward.
Right.
Into the immediate environment.
Absolutely. The next layer is all about immediate interaction and foundations. So houses 3 and 4.
Right.
House 3 is all about communication, learning, your neighborhood, short trips. It's your daily flow of information. Then House 4 is the anchor, home, family, your roots, where you feel emotionally secure, all of that.
I can see the logic there. The system is making sure your day-to-day mental world in House 3 isn't all mixed up with your deep emotional roots in House 4. That distinction alone is pretty useful.
And that's the revelation part, the source promises, It's not just a label, it's a lens to see your own story through that specific context.
But a full life isn't just about me, my money, my family. The story has to expand to include, the rest of the world. Relationships, creativity.
And that's the next big thematic shift. We can call it the relational self in daily service. This covers houses 5, 6, and 7.
Okay, let's break that down.
So house 5 is creativity, passion, pleasure, romance, children, everything you generate for pure joy.
The fun stuff.
The fun stuff. Then house 6 is your daily work, your health, routines, service, the necessary maintenance of life. And then house 7 is critical. Partnerships, marriage, but also open enemies. It's all about the primary one-on-one relationships that really mirror and challenge who you are.
Wow. putting passion from 5 right next to the grind of 6.
Yeah.
That shows the kind of breadth the source is going for. It gets that life is both inspiration and, just doing the dishes.
And House 7 is where the self really becomes a story. A life narrative is defined by the contracts we make with other people. If the source wants to reveal your life story, it has to have a place for those huge identity-shaping relationships.
Okay, so if the first 7 chapters cover the individual, their resources, their home, their close relationships, what's left for the other 5? This has to be where it gets more abstract, dealing with bigger societal ideas and existential stuff.
Exactly. The last 5 houses deal with the deepest transformations and where we find meaning. We could call it collective meaning and the abstract. And this is probably the boldest part of the whole system's claim.
Let's get into the intense stuff then. A life story has to deal with endings, with change, with things that are bigger than just my own money.
And that brings us to House 8 and 9. House 8 covers shared resources, debt, intimacy, psychological transformation, death, rebirth, all the deep stuff.
The messy, complicated contracts.
The very messy, complicated contracts. Then House 9 is immediate expansion. Higher education, philosophy, long-distance travel, your belief systems. It's the search for meaning.
That's a fascinating split. House 8 is about this intense internal merging and reckoning, and House 9 is about looking outward and searching for something bigger.
Right. It acknowledges that both deep psychological change and philosophical exploration are non-negotiable parts of a life story.
And then
Yeah.
the system has to place all of this within the wider world, right? Society.
Yep. We move to societal contribution and isolation houses 10, 11, and 12. House 10 is the most visible part of your life.
Yeah.
Your career, public status, your reputation, what you're known for.
The top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Your legacy, in a way.
Okay.
But it's followed by community and the subconscious, which feels like a very deliberate choice.
Oh, it is. House 11 is your community, friendships, your hopes and dreams. It places your public status from 10 within a network of your peers. And then you get the final, most mysterious chapter.
House 12.
House 12. Isolation, self-undoing, subconscious patterns, hidden things, spirituality.
So when we circle back to the source's claim of revealing your life story, what does this all mean?
It means the framework guarantees that your deepest internal struggles in House 12, your greatest public achievements in House 10, and your biggest beliefs in House 9 all have a place. They're all accounted for, compartmentalized, and ready to be looked at.
The system guarantees that no matter what you're going through, it fits somewhere in one of those 12 boxes.
That's the genius of it. That's the complete scope. The immense complexity of just being a person is broken down into 12 understandable parts.
And from our listeners' perspective, why is knowing this framework so useful?
It creates clarity. If you feel like your life is just, a mess, the system gives you a diagnostic tool. You can ask, is the problem in House 2 my resources? Or is it in House 7 my partnerships?
It stops that vague feeling of everything is wrong.
Exactly. It maps that feeling onto a defined structure. You get power over the problem just by being able to name the domain it lives in.
You're getting a vocabulary for your own existence. That's really what it is. The value here is organizational, but it's an organization that promises to cover every single part of being human.
And if we sum it all up, the real insight from the source material is the system's structural integrity. The promise is that it turns the messy, spontaneous reality of a life into a structured, chaptered story.
A story that's guaranteed to cover everything from who you are to your most hidden subconscious patterns.
It's the comfort of knowing that the messiness has been accounted for. It's been sorted into 12 logical containers.
So we've basically confirmed this highly structured system exists, and its function is incredibly ambitious to explain and reveal a full life story by covering that entire spectrum. What a profound way to look at the architecture of a narrative.
And that leads us to our final thought for you. We've seen that this system needs 12 distinct domains to explain a complete life. So here's a question. If you had to design a guide for human existence, and you could only pick 12 universal concepts, not astrological, just purely existential, what 12 fundamental themes would you choose to capture the full narrative arc of every single person on Earth?
That is a fantastic question. Definitely something to chew on. Thank you for that incredible analysis of the framework. And thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see what other complex systems we can unpack next time.